Welcome to Lives in Song, a series from Opera Rara with me, Flora Willson, looking at the lives of composers and other musicians through their music. In this season, we're focused on the man responsible for some of the most popular music in all opera, Giacomo Puccini. He rose to prominence just as Giuseppe Verdi's career was drawing to a close, and he lived to own motorcars, use the telephone, and give the recording industry some of its earliest hits. In this season, I'm joined in the studio by an array of Puccini experts as we explore aspects of his life and world. It's great to have you with us. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Well, today's episode is a Lives in Song first. I am delighted to be joined here in the Creative Kin studio in London by my guest, internationally acclaimed soprano Ermonela Jaho. Now, Ermonela is both Opera Rara's artist ambassador, and she's also a soprano celebrated for her vivid portrayals of Puccini's heroines. So who better to spill the beans on what it's like to actually bring these roles to life today? It's a delight to have her with us, and we've got, of course, some glorious music to listen to as well. So, as ever, lots to talk about. Let's get started. Ermonela, welcome to the studio. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So you've spent a lot of time in the recording studio with Opera Rara and elsewhere over the last few years. Is this studio, does it automatically feel like home to you, or does it feel quite different?
No, absolutely. It feels home, beautiful energy. And and we're talking about music, it's always home. And talking about Puccini, home and more than home.
Okay, tick, tick, tick. We've achieved. So I introduced you as an artist ambassador for Opera Rara. Just for people who aren't familiar with this, what does that actually mean?
I'm so privileged and honored to be an artist ambassador for Opera Rara because, you know, the Opera Rara, they're doing a great service to the opera world because they are bringing to life unknown or maybe hiding, you know, music that we didn't hear so far, we didn't listen so far. And for example, like Zaza I've done in the past, and I never heard about Zaza because the famous opera that everyone knows about, it's Pagliacci, about Leoncavallo, or other rarities, or to see how was the path of those composers, starting from the little things, little romanzas, until to the melodies that we know today. So, and to be one of the voices, you know, to immortalize, if I would say, with the recordings, it's a great privilege, an honor, and a great responsibility. So, yeah, I'm really, really happy to be chosen from them.
It's funny to hear you say that because last season I was speaking with Roger Parker about the Donizetti Song Project that, of course, you were involved with as well. And we were talking precisely about the fact that until you have recordings, music can't become known. And so it's actually so important that this effectively forgotten music is actually put down in recordings by artists like yourself so that we can then get to know it, and then perhaps other artists will also embrace it, bring it into their repertories, and that's how music gets more known.
Absolutely. Even for the operas that we know today, like La Rondine or Madama Butterfly. In Puccini's case, he rewrote or he went back just to scratch and to improve those operas that everyone knows, you know. But still, they are those masterpieces, this music that was hidden, you know, somewhere, and to bring them out, you know, today, it's like, you know, going and opening that door, that secret door of Puccini's heart in this case. So, always, even talking about famous operas or popular operas from Puccini or Verdi or Donizetti, but still, they are pages that still they need our help to bring them to life, and they're so beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All those versions, the layers that you can get into. I wonder, you've been working with Opera Rara for quite a few years now, don't you? Before we get into Puccini, do you have any favourite memories yet?
You know, the first time that I had the first work with Opera Rara what I remember and always will be in my mind and in my heart, and even today when we repeat that, is that kind of love and support that they have for the art and for the artist. It's a family. And the luxury today, having the time to go to study in deep all the details, because today everything is going so fast and we are losing that quality, because the music is the connection between human souls and this kind of harmony that all together we build something magic. Only human souls together can bring that. And today it's so rare to find that in the other opera houses and the other environments, because I understand they maybe that financially they cannot make it, and Opera Rara built this family. And when you have this kind of love, support, appreciation, it brings from you the best. So after my first meeting with the Opera Rara, the family of Opera Rara, like in Zaza, as I mentioned that before, I came out from this process, a better human being and a better person, a better artist, because there are certain things that we forget today. Those values that today you think, okay, come on, it's old school. But we need that, because human soul, the connection between human souls never is going to be old, because the humanity exists because of this energy. And the music is something we are lucky as human beings to have the music in our lives, and especially to make it. So, to build that in this family, it was fantastic. That's why I can keep talking about Opera Rara, because I felt really privileged to be, one of these artists to witness that. And you improve as an artist. Absolutely.
That is wonderful to hear. And I have to say, everyone I've ever met within Opera Rara, we're all obsessed with the music in the nicest possible way. But I would say it's not often that most of us who love Puccini specifically get to talk to someone who has performed these roles all over the world in opera houses. Do you remember your first time singing a Puccini role on stage?
My first time, it was La Bohème in Bologna. It was jumping, replacement,
Okay. Very last minute? Or
last minute. Last minute. And I was 22 years old, something like that, and I knew the opera,
yes,
because I studied that, because you have to be always ready,
no
matter what. That's why, just to say something, maybe a little apart, but the advice that I can give to the young singers, you have to be well prepared and ready for that moment.
Yes.
So, and I remember I was scared, but singing Mimì, step by step, Puccini has this kind of magic. Mm-hmm. It brings you in this world, which is it has the range of the emotion, human feelings. Everything is there, and if you let your heart open, just to be there, to step in this world, it becomes so comfortable. Mm-hmm. Because bohème, talking about bohème, Mimì, she's a young girl.
And she goes on such a journey. I suppose Puccini really leads you into the opera, perhaps, if you're stepping into this extraordinary role. But he introduces you, and then he lets you establish yourself, and then you go somewhere.
Exactly, because everyone at that age, 16 years old, I think, Mimì, everyone been, at that age, falling in love, timid, and you cannot express that to the person that you love, and you try to play a little bit, and it's this journey until of course until she dies, and it is this range of emotions. It's something that comes so naturally, because I think Puccini was obsessed, I would say, with the emotional truth.
Interesting you should say that, because of course, as our viewers will know, our listeners too, you've sung many Puccini heroines on stage at this point. Of course, Cio-Cio-San in Madama Butterfly, the title role of Suor Angelica, which I think was when I first saw you live myself, Liu in Turandot, Mimì, of course, Magda in La Rondine. Is that a happy accident of what suits your voice? Or is it actually that you are drawn towards these roles anyway, that it's what you would really love to be singing?
In the beginning, it was an accident because when you are young, you cannot choose. Okay, it was my opportunity. Okay, of course, I said yes, I'm ready because I know the opera, and I jumped in to sing Mimì. But once when you are in that world, it's something, an attraction. It's like a projection of your soul that you feel more comfortable. It's something that everything fits, and you work to make it more elegant or more to find that freedom, technically speaking, to express those emotions, you know, in a way that to give that kind of honesty and to be believable and to have to resonate with the public. And it came so naturally. Maybe being Mediterranean, I don't know.
The southern emotions, the passion.
Exactly. Everything is loud here. And Puccini is perfect. It's, for me, for a singer with that kind of passion, I would say, Puccini became a therapy because all those emotions, they are so extreme in all the titles that you mentioned. And you cannot express that, you know, in your everyday life, okay? And in Puccini, you have that platform that your soul is completely open and you can express everything, anything without being judged or without explaining why you are doing this and that. And it becomes like a therapy because, of course, behind Liu, behind Sor Angelica, it's Ermonela, it's hidden, you know, something of myself. But it became something, you know, that it drew me towards this music. And every time when I have the possibility to choose the title, always Puccini. Now I'm sometimes I'm making fun with the stage directors, telling them, yes, after so many years that I'm singing, 33 years, still you are calling me, hiring me to sing Puccini because I know how to die. I understood, you know, perfectly how to go at the end of that kind of, you know, desperation. And yeah.
It's time, I think, to hear some of this in practice. So let's listen to a clip of Ermonela singing one of Puccini's best-known melodies. Part of Un bel dì, One Fine Day, Cio-Cio-San's famous aria as she imagines the man she loves returning in Puccini's Madama Butterfly. That was sung there for us by my guest today, Ermonela Jaho, with the Orchestra della Comunitat Valenciana, conducted by Andrea Battistoni. And that's from Ermonela's award-winning album, Anima Rara, released in 2021 on the Opera Rara label. Ermonela, that pianissimo opening, I mean, it was exquisite, but how on earth do you do that, technically, physically?
It's that kind of training technically every single day to make it, to try, you know, to produce that sound that every human being when they are waiting for something desperately, that hope. And always, I'm a good observer. And I have this kind of empathy. Maybe it's innate in me, I don't know. And always I wanted to become so true, so honest, so believable, because it's not only about the voice. Even the pianissimo. The pianissimo is the sound of the soul can be louder than fortissimo if it comes from the you know, from here. And of course, you know, it's something personal as well, Flora, because I left my country when I was 18 years old, and we were so connected, the family, and I miss them so much. And always I thought, I hope one day I will become this opera singer that I wanted, you know, when I started in Albania, and to show that, to prove to my family, to prove to my country, to prove to my people that I made it. The artist can come from every part of the world, but sometimes those difficulties. So to know from when I was young, certain to know those values of the vulnerability of life, that when you're young, you don't think too much. And through the opera helped me, you know, to find, to explore life, you know, in a deep way. And going back to Butterfly, always I thought like that. Always I've seen Butterfly, you know, all my colleagues with the great respect, being so sad and just to sing that louder because it's Puccini, it's verismo. No, Puccini wrote that with 3 pianissimo.
Yeah.
Because you sing before the sound comes, that it's like with your eyes, that it's that hope that for 3 years she was expecting, waiting for Pinkerton. It is that this kind of pianissimo comes from soul, from it's hope, freedom, joy, you know, and happiness at the same time, when everyone around knows that this is going to end very bad. She was the only one that hope, and she was right. And that's why this were all the thoughts that I had, and working technically every day to make that sound, you know, pianissimo, to be heard. You know, until the last person was listening, you know, at the opera houses, let's say, and to be so loud, but loud because it was my soul singing. So it's training like crazy. So stop me if I go, like, because I'm going to explain all the technical
No,
steps.
it's fascinating to hear you speak. And I was going to say, what's so striking about just hearing a recording and not being in the opera house with all the visuals is that we hear you acting. We only need to hear your voice to know you're feeling this. And I was going to say, how do you actually make that happen? But it sounds as though you've essentially already told us that this is coming from deep within you and your own emotional world.
You have to love it. And doesn't matter if you have in front of you 1 person or 2,000 people. If it comes from soul, this is the duty for an artist. If you can touch 1 soul, your duty as an artist, you know, it was... You know, it was done. So, and especially in recording that you have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. I remember the conductor and everyone was telling me, don't worry, don't give so much. Not only at the end when we have the last track. And I told them, I can't. Because in that moment, every time I sing, Flora, doesn't matter if it's a recording in this case or on stage, doesn't matter how many times you repeat and you repeat. I feel so lucky to be there, to share the music with musicians, to share our souls, to bring something real, and that kind of connection. And that's why art, opera, the artist exists. So, and I felt, even repeating it, there were moments that I felt so exhausted, a little tired, but still... In that situation, still you can find something, you know, because you go a little bit at the edge, out of your comfort zone. But when you are out of your comfort zone, something special emotionally comes that it's so vulnerable, maybe not perfect. And we don't like perfection, the human beings. Still, we need something real. So that's my way, my philosophy. So yeah.
I wonder, if you don't mind me asking, how do you feel listening back to your own recordings like we did just then? Because I have to say, when I first started doing work on radio, I found it very disturbing to hear my own speaking voice. Very strange. Is there something like that with singing, or do you have you had to acclimatize?
Oh my God. Always, never like myself, because always I think, okay, here I could have done better. I'm never happy. So sometimes when I hear myself, I'm telling, oh my God, thank God I recorded that earlier, because if I could listen myself, I could quit immediately. So, so never happy, because we know, to improve, the improvement never stops. It's endless, because we grew up. We grow up with the music, the life experience, which in somehow it shapes the way how we approach to the music, and never is going to be the same. So every time it's something, okay, sometimes I think, oh, I've done this a beautiful sound, or this expression, I like it. It's so emotional, but I'm thinking, next time I can do that better. So never happy. But this is the beauty of our profession, I would say, because always we have something new, even repeating the same thing, which never is going to be twice the same. So, yeah, but I don't like to listen myself. Yes.
Well, while we've got that clip from Madama Butterfly still ringing in our ears, I actually thought it might be quite fun to do a direct comparison, Ermonela, between Puccini and a couple of his contemporaries who you've also sung, some from your album Anima Rara. So French opera composer Jules Massenet, he was about 15 years older than Puccini, and his immensely successful opera Manon premiered in 1884 at Paris's Opéra Comique, almost a decade before Puccini had a go at the same subject with his own Manon Lescaut. So Manon Lescaut actually became Puccini's first major international success as a composer. It really launched his career. But the one place it took quite a long time to take hold was Paris, and France more generally, because there is only really room for one opera based on Abbé Prévost's novel, and Massenet's hit had got there first. So, Ermonela, before we listen to you singing part of an aria from Massenet's opera, tell us why you included some of those French numbers by Massenet on Anima Rara, this disc. This is mainly Puccini and his Italian contemporaries. Where did the French fit in?
By the way, talking about Manon, I had the pleasure to sing both operas, the whole operas, Manon Massenet, the whole opera, and Manon Lescaut Puccini. We introduced the French opera as well because, as I mentioned that before, when we were talking about verismo or like Madame Butterfly or...
This kind of the realistic
exactly.
opera in the late 19th century.
And everyone was telling, okay, we've heard, around or, the mentality to sing that kind of repertoire, you have to be a dramatic Wagnerian or opera, Wagnerian voice. And thanks to Opera Rara, we went with Ditlev, searching and searching.
Ditlev Rindem.
Exactly. Yeah. And we found the same singer, the same soprano who sang Madame Butterfly or Manon Massenet or Bohème, Leoncavallo.
Exactly.
Or Siberia or Zaza. It was the same singer. So if we go back...
Rosina Storchio.
If we go back to sing the drama, okay, doesn't mean you have to be loud, if I would say with simply words like that. Your soul needs to be loud, but not your voice, because it's the story of this young woman, okay, suffering or finding, making her choice, maybe not the right choice, and at the end she understands that love, it was something else, and love, it was that person that it was next to her the whole journey, but she realized that later. As human beings, we are always exactly. So, and vocally speaking, it was the same person, the same singer, a lyric soprano, because that kind of sound, it gives some the vulnerability to be so fragile, But at the same time, that kind of belief that she has, in of course, the choices that she has done, but it's the whole story which is dramatic.
Yes.
Not the decibel of the voice. So, and we put it all together to dedicate this CD, to Rosina Storchio, because Rosina Storchio gave the voice to all.
And she was a very big star in her day, wasn't she?
But she was a great actress,
yeah.
Not dramatic. But she used, I think, she used her voice to give the colors of the souls she was singing. And that's the reason we included all this kind of repertoire there.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, let's hear a bit of this, you singing a role that Storchio also enjoyed. This is a bit of the heroine's aria, Adieu notre petite table, from Massenet's opera, Manon. Manon bidding farewell to her petite table, her little table, and with it her whole simple life with her beloved in Massenet's opera. We were listening to my guest today, soprano Ermonela Jaho, with the Orchestra de la Comunitat Valenciana, conducted by Andrea Battistoni. And once again, that's from Ermonela's Anima Rara album. Ermonela, let's start with the obvious. What difference does it make to sing in these different languages, the French here versus Italian? I mean, do you speak both fluently, for instance, or is that actually quite separate?
I speak fluently, both French and Italian. But the difference, you're absolutely right, is it's a big difference, singing in different, especially in this case, Manon Massenet and Manon Lescaut. The Italian opera, the Italian language is more direct.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in Puccini. Puccini doesn't hide anything. It's completely direct, and you are gonna know if it's something dramatic or not. The story, it comes through immediately, and the language as well. It gives that kind of impression. And the French one is more intimate. It takes more time. It's more not so. Doesn't have that kind of explosion like the Italian music has. So it's the same drama, but a little more torture, more inside and more intimate. And as you saw that, it's only this accord,
Well, it's so musically simple in some ways but presumably it is not at all simple to sing, to actually technically make that happen.
Except because you have to keep the energy, the intonation, and the drama. Because easily can it be so boring? Okay, so and to keep that, it has to be that fire in your soul,
Yes.
and to make every word, important. So because it was the last moment that the last time that she saw De Gria before she left. So sometimes the drama, they come from simple things,
Yes.
more than has to be something,
This aria, and of course others we have listened to already today, it's so famous. And I wonder, when you give masterclasses to young singers, for instance, these days, how do you recommend that they approach very, very famous music, where there are literally hundreds of recordings out there in the world? How do you recommend that they make this their own, as you have done?
That's a good question, actually. What it worked for me, or the mistakes that I've made before. So they have to trust their instinct. First of all, they have to know the music perfectly. okay? To know what it's about, to know, to even if they don't speak the language, but they need to know exactly that word, that comma, why the composer wrote that in that way, every pose, everything, and trying to find something to trust their instinct. What do they think if, or just to put themselves in that position, and to try not to imitate because it's everyone has something unique.
Of course,
everyone has the different life experience, so you are going to be more believable with your experience than just to imitate Maria Callas, or like, I wanted to, try it in the past when I was young. I wanted to become Maria Callas, but...
Well, that's interesting, because I was going to say, when you were starting out, were there singers that you looked up to in a previous generation and thought, wow, if I could do that? But was it Callas for you?
Oh my God. Callas was the first... when I've heard the first time, I was 14 years old. And I heard, I don't know, the little cassetta.
A cassette.
Like cassette, tape.
Yeah.
Years ago. And it was Lucia di Lammermoor. I didn't have a clue about the opera, about Lucia di Lammermoor, Donizetti, because I didn't grow up in a musical family. And but when I've heard the first time, I was so impressed. Not because of her voice or the coloraturas, because still I didn't know the technically what that did it mean, about the coloratura and the high notes.
As in this ornamentation, for those who are not sure.
Exactly.
Yes.
And but the emotional, impact.
She sounded so vulnerable when she sang,
vulnerable.
didn't she?
And I cried. I didn't know about Lucia di Lammermoor, and I cried, and I thought, oh my God, I want to become like her. And in the beginning, because, when you are young and you want to, you're trying to put the first step towards your dream, you need an idol. So I want to become like Maria Callas or someone else. And you need that kind of way in your chest to see, that you have something in your mind. But step by step, you understand that to be an artist today, it is difficult, but you can survive only if you can give something from your life experience.
You have become Ermonela Jaho.
Yeah, and I didn't have, and I wasn't anymore afraid to show my vulnerability. That's why another advice I try to give to the young singers, not to be afraid to show their vulnerability, because that vulnerability, it will make them the artists in the future, the artists that they can sing from soul. And the soul without sufferance, without sacrifices, without hard work, cannot be an artist. You can have the most beautiful voice in the world. You can work hard to have the best technique in the world, which we need that because the technique gives you the freedom to express yourself. But if you don't give emotion, and takes courage, especially today that we are afraid, especially young singers, the young generation, they are afraid to show that kind of fragility, that vulnerability, because it's scary a little bit today. Everything is on the social media, or the information is right there, in seconds. But for an artist, this that could look like a weakness point, it's the strength. Because why we are going to the opera houses? Because we want to connect with the artists, with the pain, with the joy, with the sufferance, with loss, everything in a deep, deep way. And I think the artists today, for the young generation, they cannot approach to this profession, I would say, to become rich, because never you can become rich to be an artist. Artist is in service to the humanity, to the public, because at the same time, it's a therapy for you as an artist. So that was I started to follow Maria Callas, and I finished to follow Ermonela Jaho after that.
We're very glad that you did. Well, look, we've got time for one more comparison, I think. This time, let's return to one of Puccini's Italian contemporaries, and this time to a much less well-known work. This is Leoncavallo's Zazà, which you've already mentioned, Ermonela. This was originally premiered in Milan in 1900, which is the same year as Puccini's opera Tosca. And this role was actually created by none other than Rosina Storchio, as mentioned by Ermonela earlier. As with Tosca, Zazà is an opera heroine who is herself a performer. At this time, she's a music hall singer. So we hear her enter straight into the hustle and bustle before that evening's performance. But as she chats with her musical partner Cascar, there's suddenly a stunning moment of stillness as she talks about her mother's struggles to bring her up alone. What can she do? Where can she go? A mother with a fearful babe in arms. Leoncavallo's Zazà, empathising with her own mother there to ravishing effect. It's a gorgeous melodic outpouring amid all that frenetic backstage activity in Act 1. And we were listening, of course, to Ermonela Jaho, my guest today, with the BBC Symphony Orchestra conducted by Maurizio Benini. And that's from the full recording of the orchestra's rarely performed 1919 version, available on the Opera Rara label. Ermonela, thank you for that. It's a beautiful recording, aside from anything else. From a listener's perspective, it sounds to me like Leoncavallo's, his melody there, that tune, it travels a bit further maybe. It's got some bigger leaps maybe than Puccini would. I wonder, how did it feel to you to sing a role like this one amidst so much Puccini? Do you think they do feel like very different composers, or actually ultimately is it more that they are or both working in this particular moment in Italian opera's history?
I think they were both in different with their characteristics, but in the same moment, just for the opera, the Italian opera in that period. Because to give something, they belong to verismo. And if I remember well, Leoncavallo's father was a judge. Mm-hmm. So, and when he was young, he faced those cases, the divorce, and it depends when you are a child, which kind of impression they make on you. So he brought this verismo, real life, to in the opera. I think it's a little different from Puccini because here, Leoncavallo, he's elaborating a little bit more, That's why it's one of the operas longer than usual, because we know Pagliacci, 1 act, and here there are 4 acts. It was really, really, really a long opera. So he tried there, but still, the way how Puccini brought, the story, or that emotion, those dynamics, it was more direct, I would say, and it had more that kind of punch, a little different, into the public than Leoncavallo. But in Leoncavallo, I discovered musically it was more complicated, more raffinated, I would say, and you could feel in this opera Wagner, Debussy, So
Yes.
it was something that described that world, in that period. Even the Impressionism music, French Impressionism. So it was complete. So
Yes.
it was something different than Puccini.
Yeah.
That was my first meeting.
I mean, this version of the opera was new to all of us, of course, and I imagine the opera itself was new to many. I think it was your first time singing the title role. So how do you begin to interpret a role when it's completely new to you? What do you start with?
In the beginning, I open the score and I start to see the tessitura.
So where it actually sits in your voice.
Exactly, and the orchestration as well. But I felt lucky in that direction, because when you record, in somehow the balance can be a little more adjustable, let's say. Okay, so I had courage to move forward. And the story, you read the story, and with Zaza, I was really surprised, because I could share something personal. Zaza, it was this lady who her mom struggled so much, working hard, and to make it possible, to give her a life. But her mom didn't make it, so she had to continue Zaza and to take care of her mother. And even the story at the end, when she meets her lover and she gives up because she meets her daughter, his daughter. And in his daughter, she saw herself when she was struggling, without having her father, and her mother, worked so hard to make the living for everyone, for herself and for Zaza. I remember when I was a child, my mom, she grew up without her parents. And I remember what it triggered me, that I loved so much Zaza. And when I was a child, always she was in tears and telling, I wish to have my mom here. And always she never made peace that she didn't have her mother, her parents, taking care of her. So, and I didn't understand. And I thought, Mom, why are you crying? Because I was a child. And when you see your parents a little suffering, and you are like an white page, of a book, and you don't understand, and it impacts you. And that story, and somehow it remained here in my heart, in my thought. And when I was reading the studying Zaza, and the meeting there, or when she talks about her mother on the meeting with the little girl, so there was something there, that energy, that it brought me back. And I started crying, but not because I was happy because I had two incredible parents, but in somehow I channeled, her pain. And with this thought, I put it that, in my singing. And it was so emotional, because in somehow I don't know, it was maybe like a therapy or that kind of connection with my mom's soul, that she's not here anymore. And in somehow putting that something personal, it gave to Zaza something, special. Became more moving, I would say. And because always for the composers, for the artists, for the singers, we don't want to admit that, but always is something from ourselves. It's like autobiographic in somehow, but yeah. So in every time I have a new repertoire, a new role, always I go to the story and I try to find something that I can connect. And because if you believe in that, you can give that kind of emotion to the public. So it's not going to be fake. It's going to be the real one with your reasons, of course, but to resonate with them.
Yeah. That is almost it for today's episode. But of course, we wouldn't leave you without our regular Ask Opera Rara segment. So as always, if you'd like to get in touch with a query, no matter how large or small, please do email us at ask@opera-rara.com, or you can use the hashtag AskOperaRara on our social channels. Of course, you can also follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes insights into Opera Rara's work. The links are all in the show notes. We do love to hear from you, and we'll get back to every message, so do get in touch. So, Ermonela, this week we ran an online poll for this episode, and more more than half of Opera Rara's followers wanted to know from you, what is the biggest piece of advice that you give to young singers when you work with them?
The advice that I would say, they have to trust themselves, not to be afraid to show their vulnerability. No one is perfect. To avoid to imitate and to please everyone. It's a path. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their own path. Working hard and to listen the voice inside, because that voice never will betray to you. So, and hard work, absolutely hard work.
Thank you. Lots of people also wanted to ask, do you have a pre-show ritual? They wonder.
Yes, I do. My pre-show is like waking up in the morning, let's say, and trying to have, to awake the body. Mm-hmm. Always I travel with me with a jump rope.
Oh, a skipping rope.
Skipping
wow.
rope. I say skipping rope. Yeah. 300, 500.
Oh my goodness. You're a machine.
You have to, because you have to awake the whole body.
Yes,
especially for the roles like Madama Butterfly or Traviata, because they are 3 hours on stage. It means you have to go there, and I go another thing that I go 2 hours or 3 hours before the show starts, and I start to test a little bit the phrases that are more difficult, or the phrases that everyone is waiting for you, warming up slowly, and trying to drink a lot, because we are like athletes, like gladiators. On stage in this arena, it's the stage, and eating light, because light meals, because you need that energy. You have to be really, especially today with it's a big challenge. The stage directors, they want you to run, to sing in different positions, almost impossible to watch. But everything you can do that only if you have this kind of preparation.
Yes,
this is my the ritual that I have before every performance.
Can I ask, I'm very curious, how do you calm down afterwards? How do you get over that adrenaline rush of the performance now being over, it's late in the evening, then what do you do?
It is hard. Because every time I go on stage, especially now at this stage of my life, I don't pretend, or I don't want to be only the beautiful performance, but a spiritual journey. And it takes from you so much, because always I think this is my last show of my life, and gives to you freedom, but at the same time exhaustion. It is hard. It's very hard, but the public, the applause brings you to slowly to reality. Because when I finish, sometimes I don't want to go back even for the applause, because it takes time to go back to the reality.
Yes.
But the public has that kind of reaction, and slowly you take off the costume, the wig, the makeup, and you go back to the reality. So it takes time. Sometimes when there are those nights really that you gave, like last time, let's say, I have difficulty to sleep, and I see the next day coming, the next morning still there. Okay. So it takes time. Yeah.
To end, I've got one comment from your public. In fact, we've had a lovely comment sent through our Ask Opera Rara form on Opera Rara's website. And this is from a fan in the US. Now, Aidan says, Opera Rara is truly one of my absolute favourite labels. I'm currently a very broke recent graduate. Sorry, Aidan. And I've never really owned any CDs, but I must have streamed nearly everything you've ever released. I'm grateful that there are people out there who take this music seriously and do it so well. I can't wait for your next project. Now, Aidan wants to shout out the Donizetti song cycle. I think volumes 3 and 5, brackets Ermonela Jaho's album, happen to stand out to me, in fact. I think this cycle kick-started my love for song. Isn't that lovely? Ermonela, your Donizetti Songs project recording has actually just won an award, hasn't it? It's just won an International Classical Music Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the Donizetti Song project as a whole has won an Opera Award in a special recognition category for the historical importance of the project. It's not Puccini, but I've got to ask, it must feel like a really special thing to have been a part of.
Absolutely. And I've learned so much. because we know Donizetti about the big opera, the Queen Anna Bolena, Lucia di Lammermoor, but going back and studying, because I recorded over 40 romanzas in French and Italian, you see that he's saying the story in each romanza, and it's so different. It was challenging, vocally speaking, because you have to give the story in 1 minute, in one page, or in 15 minutes. And I think it is a discover, I would say, that will help. I was part of it, and I improved so much. I went back when I was a student, and that's another advice I'm giving to the young singers, to study. Because sometimes, Flora, when we study technically, the voice, it's so sometimes boring a little bit. And if you study with these romanzas, when you have a story to say, to tell, and you improve your intonation, you improve the legato, but saying a story, which the study becomes more interesting, and you become part of this opera, this composer that who wrote the big operas. So it's something incredible, a great help for the young students, young singers. So, and to be part of that, I'm so happy, privileged to be part of. And we had this recording with Maestro Rizzi. So we're like two young students going there, searching and searching, bringing the best of each performance, each romanza.
Well, that is it for this episode. Thank you, Ermonela, for sharing your own life in music with us. Thank you. And thank you, of course, to everyone who's been watching or listening. The links to all of the music featured in today's episode will be featured in our show notes on Opera Rara's website, and that's opera-rara.com. I'm Flora Willson, and my guest today was Ermonela Jaho. Lives in Song is produced for Opera Rara by Creative Kin. To find out more, visit creativekin.co.uk/song. Special thanks to our producer, Jason Caffrey. This show's executive producer is Zachary Vanderberg. Our audio engineer is Phoebe Murdoch, and our videographer is Abdul Salifu. Lives in Song is brought to you by Opera Rara, and by the generosity of listeners like you. Opera Rara is all about uncovering and sharing the hidden gems of the operatic world, giving new life to music that deserves to be heard. Your generosity helps us share rare operas and songs with audiences around the world. If you love discovery as much as we do, you can help us keep the music alive by visiting opera-rara.com/support and making a donation. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.